Good afternoon, everyone. We want to thank you for coming and spending some time with us today. As you can see here, we're going to be talking about using TradeLog for the first time. So we're going to be going through some of the basics of using the software for the first time. If you've never seen it before, or maybe you've been using the trial, we're going to kind of step you through the process of how to use the software. Before we get started with our main part of the presentation here, our legal friends ask us to make sure and remind you that the webinars that we present here are not financial, tax, or legal advice. So not all of the information that we present here is appropriate for all people. We just want to make sure that you know that we're not responsible for your personal investing or reporting decisions. Now, if you've never attended one of our webinars before, you'll notice on the right-hand side of your screen you do have some controls there. If you have any questions during the course of the presentation, please submit those in that questions box. And I will check periodically throughout the presentation for any questions that you may have. And of course, at the end, I'll also cover anything that you want me to re-demonstrate, or if you have any specific questions, I will discuss those towards the end of the presentation. If you're having any problems hearing the audio, you'll notice also on the right-hand side of your screen there is a phone number as well as a authorization or PIN code you can enter to join in through the phone conference system. And again, if you're having trouble with hearing through the audio in your speakers, please go ahead and call into that system now. My name is Caleb Huckster. I am the TradeLog support team leader here for our company, and I will be going through this presentation for you and showing you how to use TradeLog for the first time. All right, so now if you're an active trader, I'm sure you understand what an absolute nightmare it can be to properly report your data on the Schedule D. And especially if you're trying to do this manually, what a nightmare it can be to try to calculate those wash sales. I'm sure if you've tried to use it before or done by hand, by using an Excel spreadsheet, we have those that call us and say they've been using the spreadsheet and how many hours and weeks that can take to try to manually do. And so what the purpose today is to try to show you what TradeLog can do to help you with this problem, how to make it so much easier, so much less of a nightmare, and how quickly it can be done. So what we're going to do today is start off by going through a basic overview of the TradeLog appearance and functionality. We're going to take a look at how the software looks, some of the quick functions of it. Then we're going to go through our quick start guide, and we're going to use that to walk through the whole process of using the software, from creating a data file, importing our data, completing that data file, verifying our information, and then we'll talk about some of the various ways that you can get the reports out of TradeLog and some methods that are available to you for filing your taxes with those reports. And as mentioned at the end of the discussion here, if you have any questions, go ahead and submit those. I will have a little discussion at the end there for anything you want me to recover. All right, so first off here, let's talk a little bit about the TradeLog appearance. You'll see here in this screenshot that TradeLog is set up pretty similar to that of an Excel spreadsheet. There's columns and rows of data. We have the headers up there. And all of this data is easily accessible in what we call the main grid here, that section there where all the trades are laid out line by line. We call this the data grid. Now there's also some comprehensive toolbars at the top of the screen. You'll see that blue bar here. This is going to be a quick reference. As you click on trades, it will show you bits of information, the commissions paid, how many shares are open in that specific trading series, or the whole file, how many records are in your file, what is the last date of this file, so on and so forth. So just a quick reference so you can scan through the data and find little bits of information. Now each trade in this TradeLog grid is broken down by the same parameters. And you can see there we have the headers, trade number, date, OC, LS. I'll tell you what those mean here in a second. And basically this is allowing you to easily access your information because you have the same parameters for each trade. So let's take a look at a TradeLog sample file that we have here. This is a 2009 sample data file, and you can see here this quick reference bar showing me there's 560 records in this data file. Okay, so these are all my trades. These O's represent buy, open, long. There are probably some short sales in here. You can see a couple of short sales. So this is all of my data. These are my buys and sells that were imported from my broker into TradeLog and then organized according to first in, first out. So again, here we can see these. You have the date column, time. The OC is for open and close. LS for long and short. Ticker symbol, the company that I'm trading. Maybe if I have an option, the ticker symbol is a little different. We can see the share amount, price per share. This is showing here what type of security we're trading. It's an option or a stock. There's different multipliers for those, commissions paid, the total cost basis or proceeds from that trade, and then finally our profit and loss. So all of these trades are broken down by the same pieces of information, and we can use that to easily find trades or drill down into maybe a particular trading series. Some of the main functions that are used in TradeLog here, we have the All, Open, Closed, and Range button. The All button is always going to bring us back to the main grid and show us all our trades we have in the entire contents of this file. The Open button is going to show us how many positions we have open as of the last date available in our file. In this case here, our last date is 6/16/2009, so therefore TradeLog is going to show me how many trades or how many securities I had open as of that date. Now this can be helpful because I can use this at the end of each month to verify my TradeLog data. At the end of each month when you receive your monthly statement, it's a good idea to go ahead and check to make sure that what TradeLog is showing is matching with your statement. This is a good way that we use to be able to catch any corporate actions, things that your companies that you are trading might have gone through. All right, then we have the Close button. This is going to show us the exact opposite, all the positions we've closed in this file. And then finally we have the Range button here. This is going to allow us, through the use of some calendars, I can isolate out and filter a specific period of time or maybe a year in the file, and then I can run various reports from that filter data. So just some of the quick functions there of TradeLog that are most commonly used. Now a little bit about how TradeLog works. If you've never used it before, there's different methods of importing available for each of the brokers that we support. Now the most common method and the cleanest method that we recommend using is what we have called Broker Connect. In this function, what TradeLog does is, using your login credentials for your brokerage account, it will log into your account for the specified date range, retrieve the data for that date range, import it into TradeLog, and then organize it accordingly by date, buys and sells, so on and so forth. Now there's other methods available also for brokers that Broker Connect is not supported. We do have a downloadable file method where you can download a CSV, delimited file or a TXT file from that brokerage house, import that into TradeLog, and it will organize it the same way. Now the different methods and what is available for your broker is available on our website. You can see that under our supported broker matrix page, so you might want to take a look at that to see what's available to you. Now the way that TradeLog works is much like that of a simple checkbook would work or a register. Everything is working on a debit and a credit system. So if you're purchasing an equity, money is going to be flowing out of your account, so it's going to show up as a debit, and therefore TradeLog is going to list it as a negative amount in the software. When you sell an equity, money is flowing back into your account. TradeLog is going to show this as a credit or a positive amount in the software. Now TradeLog also works exclusively on a first-in, first-out basis. This is the default accounting method of the IRS, and therefore it is what TradeLog was designed around, FIFO. It is first in, first out. And this method basically assumes that the first shares that you purchase are the first shares that are going to be sold. So that assumes then that the oldest shares that you bought are going to be the first ones to be sold. Now data is also organized even further by what we have called as trade number. We know a lot of times when you're trading securities, it's not as simple as buy 10, sell 10. Sometimes you'll have partial fills. The broker might break that down. If you sell or if you purchase 500 shares and then sell them, it might be broken down into sell 100, sell 100, sell 300 to satisfy that order. So what we do here in TradeLog is we organize those into what we call trade numbers, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. If we go back into the software, you can see a couple examples here. For instance, we have trade number 6 here. The total number of shares that were acquired here was 110 shares. I can see that in the top left-hand corner here in this box. So these were all acquired over the course of time here, all through 2008, and the sell was done in 2009. He sold all the 110 in one shot. And this can be really helpful, again, if you have a lot of trades. And I'll find a better example for you down here. Okay, here's a good example. If we take a look at BAC, you'll see here through this trading series we have a couple buys, then some sells, some more purchases, some more sells. So this just continues right on down all the way until at some point in time I'm going to sell completely out of this stock here and become zero or have no shares of that stock. So TradeLog organizes all those together into the same series for you, and that way you can kind of drill down and see how you did in that series. If I want to isolate just this particular grouping here, all I have to do is double click anywhere in this area. Alright, and you'll see here TradeLog has now isolated only these positions. You see here I can look and see what my total P&L is for this total trading series up here in the profit and loss bar, how much I paid in commissions for all these trades, how many actual trades there were that were made, and from here I can run a gains and loss report, summary, or a detailed report, some of these common reports, and see drill down further into this trading series. So just a way to show you about how TradeLog is organizing that data. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and jump right into our built-in quick start guide that's in the software. This is also available on our website through video tutorials or in the user guide. What we're going to do is we're going to use this to walk through the use of the software from beginning to end and show you how easy it is, or how really easy it is to use. So let's go ahead and go back into TradeLog here and go ahead and get that quick start guide open. If you go to Help and then Getting Started Quickly, you'll see here available is our quick start guide. These are the 8 steps that all of our users, regardless if it's their first time or their 50th time using the software, this is the basic procedure of that must be used in order to successfully create a file and file your taxes using TradeLog. So kind of use this as your checklist to go through using the software here. So let's go ahead and click on our first step, which is create a new file or locate your files. If you are a previous user, you're going to click on this link here for previous users, but as I mentioned earlier, today we're going to assume that we've never used the software before. This is the first time, and we're going to go through the whole process. So we'll click on New Users. Alright, now just a couple of pointers before we create a new data file here. A lot of people ask sometimes, well, I have multiple brokers or multiple accounts. How do I set my files up? Well, the way that we do this here is that each separate account and each separate year has a separate data file. Okay, so if I'm working on 2010 here and I have 3 brokerage accounts, that means that for 2010 I'm going to have 3 separate TradeLog data files. All of those files are kept separate so that at year end I can verify and reconcile the data, make sure that everything's correct, and then I'll combine those accounts together to generate my wash shows across accounts for the year and report one total Schedule D. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started here. The first thing we're going to do is click on File, New. So we'll go ahead and do that. Click on File, click on New. Alright, so what TradeLog is doing is it's asking us for a tax year here. I'm going to go ahead and put in 2010. Next thing it's doing is asking me for a descriptive name for this account. If I have multiple accounts with the same broker or just multiple brokerages, I'll usually call it, let's say I have IB and Schwab, I'll call it IB and Schwab. I'll just put the name of the account in there. Or if it's all with the same broker, I'll just identify the files by the name of the accounts. So for today, I'm just going to call this sample file here for this example. We can leave this here as it is. This is just where TradeLog is defaultly storing our data files. Go ahead and leave that as is. We'll press OK. Alright, so the next thing it's asking me for here is the import filter. What this is the account or the brokerage that I'm going to be importing from. So in this example today here, we're going to use E-Trade. So I'll select E-Trade from the list. Next thing it needs to know is how do I want to import from this broker. Now again, you can take a look at the support matrix on our website. It is also in the user guide, and that will tell you what is available for that broker. We do recommend that if Broker Connect is available, use it because it is the cleanest and simplest method for importing your trades. Alright, so after I've selected those two things, I'll press OK. Alright, so now we're ready for the next step. So let's see what TradeLog's asking for next here. Go ahead and scroll down. We've done all that, so I'll click on step 2 here, enter baseline positions. Now, if this is the first year that you're using TradeLog, there's a couple things that need to be done here in order to set it up for your account. First thing being is what we call entering baseline positions. If you've been trading for a few years here, or a year, or any time really, if you carried any positions over from one year to the next, we have to put those positions in TradeLog so that it will be able to know what it is that you'll be selling off of in that next year. In this case here, we're working on 2010, So what that means is I need to look to my December 2009 statement. And on that December 2009 statement, I'm looking for the brokerage section talking about holdings as of December 31st, as well as trades pending settlement. This will tell me what I had open that I carried through to the next year. If you're sure that you didn't carry anything over and you've checked your statement and verified that, that's great. That'll save you a couple minutes here. You can just say that I don't have any baseline positions and move right on to the importing process. Today I'm going to show a couple examples of having baselines. So I'm going to go ahead and say I do have baselines that need to be entered. And there's some information here to show you how to determine whether or not you do have baseline positions. As I mentioned, you're going to be looking to the December statement of the year previous to the one that you're working on. On that statement there, it'll have a section holdings or account holdings. There's different names for it on different statements, but basically it's telling us what I had opened that carried through the next year. So what we need to do is get a hold of that information and then find the original purchase date and the original purchase price for those shares, so that way the holding period is calculated correctly as well as your cost basis is calculated correctly. So what I've done here already, I've already pulled my statement, I've already identified my positions that I have, so I'm going to go ahead and give you a couple examples of entering these in and what these columns exactly mean here. Alright, so for my first position here, I found that it was purchased on 12/16/2009. The OC column stands for open or close. So I'm going to put in an O here because we're putting in baseline open positions. So I put an O there. The LS column simply stands for long or short. So that means did I short sell these positions or did I just purchase these? In this case here it was an open long. I bought these to open. I'm going to put in my ticker symbol for the company. Then I put in the share amount that I purchased. Then my price per share. Okay, now I need to tell it whether it's a stock or an option. In this case it's a stock, so I can leave that. It has a multiplier of 1. Put in my commission paid on that trade. Alright, now once I have that all filled out, I hit enter on my keyboard. Notice TradeLog populated the amount column or cost basis here for me, so I'm going to go ahead and save that and say yes, I have another one to be entered. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a couple more here. Next one was purchased on 12/19/2009. Another open long. Put in my ticker symbol there. Okay, put in my shares, put in my price. Again, this is a stock, and don't forget the commission, and then press enter to save it. Now for those of you who trade options, I'm going to give you a couple examples of an option here. Go ahead and fill this out, and then I'll explain to you how the options are recorded in TradeLog. Okay, in this case here it's going to be contracts, so I'll put that in, put in my price per contract. Need to make sure this time here to change this because we're talking about an option, so I need to change this to OPT-100. Alright, put in my commission paid. Press enter to save this. Okay, so let me just quickly go and show you here what this line record means. For options, this is the format that we use in TradeLog. It's called the options long format. Basically what this consists of is the ticker symbol of the company that's being traded, the expiration date, month, and year that it's going to expire, the strike price, and then showing whether it's not a call or a put. So this format here is what's got to be used in TradeLog for when putting in baselines, and there is a couple examples of that shown in the Quick Start Guide here. For different types of securities, we have mutual funds, options, futures. All those examples are laid out here. And that, again, must be put in that format so that TradeLog can properly do any exercise and assignments you may have and/or expirations. So just make sure to use that following format. I'm going to put in 2 other examples here, and you can watch me as I do so. In this case here, notice this option is a put, so I had to put in PUT there. Make sure I don't forget to change this to an option that will affect the total amount here that's being calculated. Okay, enter to save that, and I've got one more to put in. This time here, I just wanted to make note that this option is an open short, which means I sold to open on these contracts. And you can do that also with stock, of course, so just make sure to put that S in there if it is a short sale. Okay, so I've got all my positions. I'll save those 5 records, tell it no, I don't have any more to put in, and now we're ready to begin importing. So let's go ahead and go back into our Quick Start Guide here and see what we need to do next. So we walked through this process here. This part of the Quick Start Guide is basically explaining what I've already done here is explaining what each column means and what you should be putting in for those. The LS column, the OC column, the format for options, so on and so forth. So you can always refer back to this to see exactly what needs to be done. Or you can also call our support department. We'll be happy to answer those questions for you. All right, so we're ready to begin importing our transaction history. Now, just a few notes here as well before we go ahead and do this process. There's got to be 13 months worth of data in a file. That is January 1st through January 31st of the following year. Now, for those of you who have elected MTM status, and if you are don't know what this means or what that is, don't worry about it. For those of you who have, though, you only need to import 12 months of data. For the majority of us, we go Jan 1 through Jan 31 of the following year, so 13 months of data. So this file that we're working on today here is a 2010 file. So I'm going to be importing from January 1st, 2010 through January 31st of 2011. Now the reason for this is the proper calculation of wash sales. As you've probably seen some of the law there about wash sales or the rules, the wash sale can be calculated 30 days forwards or backwards from the point at which you sold the security at a loss. So we only had those January trades there just for wash sales. It's not actually, those trades themselves are not included in your P&L, but we do have to have them in the file in order to properly calculate your wash sales. All right, so what we're going to do next here is go ahead and initiate the import process. And to do so, what we do is first click on the Speed Import button, and this is going to have the name of your broker. In this case, it's E-Trade, so I'll click that there. All right, so now what TradeLog is asking me for is user, password, and account. Now, this is not a user, password, and account that you set up with TradeLog when you sign up for the software. This is actually the account credentials that you use to log into your online account. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put in that information. Enter my password for the account. And then enter the specific account number that I'm going to be importing to. Again, if you have multiple accounts, you can import multiple accounts by telling which one you're going to be importing from, but remember, a separate data file for each account. All right, I can select my date range here. I'll leave that as max. Go ahead and hit the OK button. TradeLog's going to run out and grab that data. Okay, so we had 1,233 records imported, saving a total of 1,238. Reason being for that is because, remember, there was 5 records that I put in when I started this file, those baselines. So the entire contents of the file is totaling 1,238. All right, so I've properly imported here. I've gone all the way through the 30 days into the following year, or 2011 in this case. All right, so now I've got all this information imported. It seems pretty clean. I could just take a scroll through here just to check, see if anything seems out of the ordinary. All right, everything looks pretty clean to me here. Now, what we need to move on to next is verifying our data, because just scanning through it here is not going to tell us too much. If we maybe have a couple mismatching trades, we can handle that, but we really need to identify and make sure that everything's matching up before we physically file our taxes. So let's go ahead and move on to those important steps here. All right, let's go on to verify your TradeLog data. Now there's 2 methods in which we use to verify the TradeLog data. One is by making sure that your year-end open positions match with your brokerage's statement, as well as reconciling with the 1099 gross proceeds. Okay, so let's go through those 2 one at a time here. The first one we use is matching your year-end open positions. Now I showed you that a little bit in the beginning of the presentation about that open box, but let's go ahead and go through it thoroughly here. So what I need to do is click on the open button. Alright, TradeLog is going to be showing me now all the open positions, again, that are open as of the last date in my file. But what I need specifically here is to know what I had open as of the 31st. So in order to do this, I'll click on this button here that says Year-End Open Positions. Alright, once I've clicked that, TradeLog is now going to backdate itself to 12/31/2010. So you can see here I'm seeing all the positions open as of the 31st. Now with this list, what I like to do personally is I print it out so that way I can kind of cross off as I go through with my statement side by side and make sure that not only the securities match, but the amounts are matching. I mentioned before too that this can help you catch corporate actions because if some of your securities went through a stock split, you're probably going to have the wrong amount open here, maybe too much or too little showing in this column. So that's how we catch those corporate actions, as well as option exercise and assignments or expirations. We do have tools to handle all of those functions here in the software. I'm not going to go through those today because, again, we're just going through the basics of using the software for the first time. But if you do have any questions on that, please feel free to take a look at our user guide. We have some video tutorials, as well as you can give us a call. We'll be happy to show you how to do those functions. All right, so once I've verified that all my positions at year-end are matching, the next thing I need to do is reconcile with my brokerage's 1099. Your 1099, or the gross proceeds, is what your broker is submitting to the IRS. And so therefore what we need to do is make sure that those are matching in TradeLog. This is just the sales amounts we're talking about here. All right. So in order to initiate this process, what we need to do is first off we need to have our 1099. That'll be received sometime in late January, February is when the brokers will release those. And once we get that form, then that's when we can complete our taxes. We really can't file before then if we don't have our 1099. So in order to do this, what we need to click on here is Reports, and in the drop-down, Gains and Losses Tax Forms. Now from the Report Type section, we're looking for the Reconcile 1099-B report. You'll notice that as soon as I click that in the top right-hand corner, a yellow box has popped up. And what this is asking for is the gross proceeds less commissions from Box 2 on our 1099. This is usually going to be in the first or second page. It's going to be towards the total section, and that's going to be telling us what our total proceeds were for the year. So what I would do is I put that number in this yellow box here, press OK, and what TradeLog is going to do is generate this report for me. It's going to show me my short-term and long-term gains and losses, if I had any wash sales, things like option sales, some things that are subtracted out. We know that brokers do not report option sales on their brokerage's 1099. So therefore we have to subtract those out. What in the end result is TradeLog is going to tell us whether or not there's a difference between what our 1099 is showing and also what TradeLog is showing. If there is a difference between the two, then we know that there's an adjustment that needs to be made here. This can tell us if we're missing positions, if we have too many, if we have duplicate entries in the file. This is how we again catch those things. So very important report to run before you file your taxes, making sure that everything is matching up correctly. All right, so once we've run this report, we're ready now to work on finalizing our reports and generating our gains and losses for filing our taxes. So let's go ahead and move on to those steps here. So I've run this gains and loss report, or this 1099, everything reconciles out correctly. All right, so our next step is to work on ending the tax year. Now, again, we mentioned that we can handle multiple accounts. You can handle as many accounts as you can have. In this example today, we're going to stick with just having one brokerage account. We're not going to go through the combine function instructions today. So I'll click on I maintain one account. Now, this ending tax year procedure, what this does for you is basically, in a sense, really closes out the books for you for the year that you're working on and gets you prepped for the next year. There's a couple different functions that TradeLog is going to do for you here. First off is it's going to automatically create your new data file for next year. So we're working on 2010 here. By ending the tax year, TradeLog is going to create my 2011 file for me. Now in that 2011 file, it's also going to move forward all of my year-end open positions. You remember when we started this file, we had to manually enter those baseline positions. Now that we are a current user of the software, TradeLog keeps track of those for us. We don't have to go through hand entering those positions. Those are going to be pushed forward each year that you use the software and use the end tax year function. It's also going to push forward and generate any wash sales that we have. Losses that we couldn't take this year are going to be pushed forward. We want to make sure we do that because you don't want to lose those losses from year to year. It's also going to move forward those January trades that we imported into our next year's tax year's data file. So a lot of functions that this one process is going to do for you. You don't want to skip this step. Alright, so to initiate this process here now, what we need to do is click on the All button. Make sure we're looking at our full grid. Next thing we'll do is click on File, click on End Tax Year, Create Next Tax Year Data File. Now in this example here, I have the software set up for MTM, so I'm going to tell it no, I did not use MTM for either year. What we're going to be seeing here is TradeLog is going to ask us to import all of our trades for January 2011. Now I can verify that very easily by looking at this box here that says last date. I can confirm that I did import all of my trades for January and that I have successfully done that. So I can click on the Yes button here. Alright, TradeLog's all set. It's created my next tax year data file. Let's go ahead and check that out. If I go into File, go to Open, alright, you'll see here the 2011 sample file was created for me. So if I go ahead and open that up, you'll see it's complete through January 2011. Those trades were pushed forward. As well as, very importantly, see these W positions here. These are our wash sales. These are all losses. If you look on the far right-hand column, these are all losses that I could not take in 2010, so they were deferred to 2011. You want to make sure, again, that you end the tax year, because if you don't, you will lose these losses. You will not be able to capture these in the following year. Okay, so all of those positions have been moved forward. All my open positions as well, these O's here, these are all those open positions, with some of them where the wash sales are attached being pushed forward. These are all positions that you'd have to hand enter. And trust me when I say you do not want to have to hand enter that many positions again. Alright, so let's go ahead and go back to our data file, now the 2010 one that we've completed. We're ready to start generating our tax reports. Let's go ahead and move right through this here. Alright, so we're ready to run our gains and loss report. So to do this, we're going to click on the All button again. Then we're going to click on Reports, and the drop-down Gains and Losses Tax Forms. In the top right-hand corner for Report Type, there's two reports that we can generate for filing our taxes here. There's the Gains and Loss Report or the IRS Schedule D1. The IRS Schedule D1 is the official IRS D1 attachment form for the D. But we have generated here what's called the Gains and Loss Report. They're both exactly the same in terms of the actual figures that they have on them. They're both accepted by the IRS. The Gains and Loss Report is just going to be less pages for you to print if you're having to print your return. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and run report here. Alright, so you'll notice here TradeLog has generated this report for me here. There's 32 pages in total. And I can look at the bottom of the screen here. This is going to show me my report column totals for all of my trades. I can see here that in this account I didn't have any long-term trades, so nothing was held over a year. My actual P&L for 2010 was a little over $12,000 I made, but because of wash sale deferrals, I'm going to be paying a taxable gain of a little over $17,000. So these wash sale deferrals are increasing my taxable gain. Again, those are losses that I cannot take, and so they're being deferred to the following year. Now, there's a couple different ways that you can get this report out, depending on how you're filing your taxes. You can always print this report. You can make a copy of it, paste it into popular programs like Microsoft Word or Excel. You can also create a PDF of it. This is what a lot of our users tend to lean towards, is creating a PDF. And if you have a CPA or an accountant, you can email this to him so he can finish your return and have this portion of your return for the D here. So a couple different ways that you can get this out. And also there are some other methods for electronically filing. I'm going to go ahead and cover those here next. All right. So we've just talked about the different reports that are available. Let's go ahead and go back to the other reports there. If you are trying to electronically file, we do have two functions available here. There is a TXF export, and this is used for popular tax programs like TaxCut or a Tax Act, TurboTax, so on and so forth. You can export this TXF file to be used with those. We do also have a built-in specific, though, CSV export for Tax Act. And this is the company that we recommend using. Most of our users, we've been recommending them now for a few years, have had great success with easily filing their taxes electronically using Tax Act. And we do have some very specific instructions available on our website in our user guide that will walk you through the use of this software. So this is, if you ask us about electronically filing, this is the method that we really strongly suggest that you use. All right, we've already talked about here the various ways you can get the report out by printing it, making a PDF, or copying it. So let's go ahead and move right on to our final step here, which is filing your taxes. Now, just a note in terms of working with programs like TurboTax or TaxCut, these softwares really never designed for the needs of active traders, and they're, generally speaking, they're not going to work with large volumes of trades, and especially with calculations of wash sales on equal shares. So we have seen some great success and also some unsuccessful results when working with that, and that's why we've had this great alternative that we offer to all of our customers with Tax Act. So again, we do have full instructions for using them. We've had excellent results and reviews from our customers using them from year to year. So both methods are available to you. We just wanted to make sure that you know we do have an alternative if the other method of TurboTax or TaxCut does not work out for you. All right, so now in terms of actually filing your form, it depends again on what method that you're using to filing. If you're printing and mailing it in, hit that print button, print it out. Hopefully it's not a couple hundred pages, and you can attach it to your return or give it to your CPA. If you are electronically filing, we give you some instructions here. There's a couple of screenshots showing you of the actual Schedule D here, Part 1 and Part 2. In this example today, obviously we mentioned we only have short-term capital gains and losses. There were no long-term trades in this account. So what I'm going to be doing is taking these totals here from this report column. I'll go ahead and run this report again so I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's this report. Now, this is the breakdown of all the trades line by line, and that's what the IRS needs. Obviously, they want that full transaction history, but on the actual face of the D itself is only 5 lines. And obviously, if you're using a software like ours, you probably have a lot more than 5 trades. So what we're going to be doing is, on that main portion of the D there in those top 5 lines, we're going to be saying something to the effect of trading, see attached for detail, and then we're going to put in these report column totals, which is the total sales, a total cost basis, and then the gains or loss. This can then be used to finish our Schedule D, and we'll attach or mail in our form here, the Schedule D1 or the gains and loss report, which will have all of our transaction history. Okay, so if you have any questions about that can get a little confusing, feel free to call us and ask us. We also have some great tax topics and information in our user guide available online for filing the Schedule D, what forms you should be using, so on and so forth. So take a look at that. I'll show you where to find those here towards the end of our presentation. All right, so we've pretty much gone through the whole process here. Let's jump back into our presentation quickly. Okay, so hopefully, through the course of this presentation here, I've been able to, really show you how easy it can be used to use TradeLog and how quickly you can get your taxes done. It really shouldn't be a painful process. Think of us as your light here. We're trying to help you make this process easy, take the stress off of you. TradeLog is going to do all the work. All you have to do is get your trades in there. TradeLog is going to correctly match your long and short trades. It's going to very precisely and accurately adjust for your wash sales between multiple accounts, not just one account, but between stocks and options, between all of your accounts. It's going to help you complete and file your Schedule D. And again, this is for all of your trades. We want to make sure that you know that you don't just use TradeLog for one brokerage account. You can use this for all of your accounts, many different brokers. TradeLog will calculate all of that together. There's also some great analysis and powerful accounting tools that can be used here. For time's sake, we don't have time to cover those. We do have another webinar that talks about that, though. It's called TradeLog, More Than Just Taxes. So if you have a chance, please feel free to join us for that. We'd love to show you some of the other things that the software can do besides just doing your taxes at year end. And really, the beauty in using TradeLog comes from the more often that you use it. We recommend to all of our customers to import their data at least once a month throughout the course of the year. So if you have the time, please do that. It's really going to make it so much easier to use the software. And really, especially if you're a very active trader, we can't strongly emphasize enough how helpful it's going to be to you to import regularly. Now, also one of the great things about the use of our software is our support team here. With other softwares, you might not get the best support, but we do have a full-time support staff available here based solely out of the U.S. You can contact us anytime via phone, via our online web. You can submit a support request to us. We have lots of tutorials, video tutorials recorded in-house here that walk you through the whole use of the software. We have the user guide and the quick start guide. We touched on some of those things today here. And you can also, again, if you have any suggestions, maybe there's a specific report that you're looking for that you don't see in our software, send us some feedback. We'll be happy to take a look into adding that to our software. So we're always open for suggestions. I'm going to go ahead and show you where you can find some of these tutorials and information to get support from us. Let's go ahead and go to our website real quickly here. If you go under Help and you go under Tutorial, this is going to take you to our home web page, which is TradeLogSoftware.com here. And you can see we have all these tutorials that are walking through the same 8-step process that we went through when we used the software today. So, feel free to watch those if you don't feel like reading. Sit back and watch a video. We'll show you how to do it, as well as here's some of these tax topics talking about what forms to file, so on and so forth. So there's plenty of information to our support department here. You can submit a support request. You can get in touch with us that way, or give us a call via our 800 number. So again, if you get stuck, please do not spend too much time aching over trying to figure out a problem. We probably could figure it out for you much quicker, get you back on your feet, and back to using the software. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and consider a few questions now. If you do have any questions, go ahead and submit those in the questions box there. If not, we thank you for joining us today. We hope I was able to walk you through some of the basics of the software, kind of enlighten you a little bit more on how the software works in comparison to other softwares. And again, if you have any questions in regard to this webinar here, give us a call. We can be happy to clear anything up for you. You're going to re-demonstrate something, that'll be fine. But hopefully, again, you've have a better understanding now of how TradeLog works, and we hope to work with you in the future. Again, we thank you for joining us today at TradeLog, and we hope that you all have a great afternoon.